On this episode, overcoming mistakes, comping unusual homes, and why are you addicted to me?
I spend the majority of my time trying to figure out how to help other people get what they're really after. I do this by speaking at events, writing books, working with coaching students, and sharing a lot of content. All of this creates a ton of questions from people that I can't always get back to, but now I can. This is the place to come where you ask your questions and I'll answer them.
Hey guys, welcome to hashtag JJ Offthecuff, episode 6, where you ask your questions, I'll answer them. They can be about just about anything, business, sales, entrepreneurial, personal, whatever you want to ask, I will answer them, okay guys? You can ask them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any of these places, although the show usually ends up on YouTube or something like that. So guys, keep asking them. I'm loving the questions that are coming in. We have a great mixture so far of, very specific business questions, just like we do today, and then also just personal more. People want to know like day-to-day what's going on. So with that being said, guys, let's get in to the first question. Good.
Okay, question from Vanessa.
First question is Vanessa. Hold on, what do we got here? Someone liked my Facebook ad, but nothing else. Odd. Is that a good thing? And what to do? I know what I would do. I didn't see who answered that, but since you have them on Facebook, I would go send them a private message and follow up with them. And if you have no mutual friends, spend the $1 to automatically go into their inbox, and even better yet, shoot them a video. But let's get back into this.
Our first question comes from Vanessa Gonzalez, and she says, how do you overcome a big mistake and move on? How do you stop thinking about what people will say, etc.?
Okay, and that's from who?
Vanessa Gonzalez.
Isn't she a one-on-one student?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, Vanessa, that is a great question, how to overcome a big mistake. One of my favorite things, in fact, I wrote this in my last book, one of my favorite things is that we are ultimately called human beings, not human doings, okay? Because the truth is we could find just about anything in our lives that we find that we screwed up, we messed up. I could find things in my life that ultimately don't define me, right? As long as you don't dwell there. So big mistakes or not, big mistakes means that you went for something. Big mistakes means at least you're not sitting, whatever it may be. But remember, this is the thing that always helps me. We are ultimately human beings. We're not human doings. And what that really means is that just because you do something, that's off character or off whatever, doesn't mean that that's who you are. I'd be more concerned if that was who I was, more so than if it was out of character. And when I hear something like a big mistake, a big whatever, that generally speaks to something that is not the way you generally act, that is not the way you generally make decisions. So I wouldn't be as concerned with that, but it really leads me into the second part of your question. And the second part of your question said how to not care as much or something like that about what other people think. Isn't that what it was? Okay, so that is a completely different question. It speaks to narrative, it speaks to self-confidence, it speaks to probably how you were raised or otherwise. But here's the deal. We find what we look for, and so when you say not to care about what other people think, there's an obvious you're obviously saying what they say negatively, right? You're not saying positively. It's funny how when we ask that question, we're always talking about the negative. Because do you not care, or do you care too much when people say nice things? No, probably not. You only care too much when people say things that you don't like. And so that's really a focus issue on your end, because like anything, we find what we look for, right? If I told you to find something maroon in here, even if there wasn't something maroon, you'd look at this table and go maroon, because that's the way we were created, right? And so here's what I'll tell you. I have daily people who say a lot of really not nice things about me, and then I have daily people who say a lot of really nice things about me. And what I usually find with almost all of those two different sides is that in most cases, they're not really people I should be listening to for my self-esteem anyway. You know what I'm saying? I always have this belief that you should never give somebody priority in your life when they're nothing, when you to them are nothing more than an option. Okay? So you never give somebody priority in your life when to them you're nothing more than an option. And it sounds to me, Vanessa, like you are allowing too many people who don't deserve power or control in your life or the ability to speak those kinds of things in your life. You're giving too many people that kind of voice when they don't deserve it. Because I find that the people that we do allow in, the people that we trust, the people that we don't have to worry about them saying bad things that hurt our self-esteem or otherwise, because they have our best interests at hand, right? Like, I don't have to worry about that with the few people that I'll listen to. You know, if they did say something negative, it wouldn't be negative in the sense that you're a terrible this and they're trying to put me down. It would be negative in a constructive sense where I could actually receive it. So you need to receive what I said a second ago. Never give somebody priority in your life when you to them are nothing more than an option. It's not worth it, and as long as you do that, you'll be asking this question 10 years from now. Again, you find what you look for. So there's plenty of people are going to say negative stuff, plenty of people are going to say positive stuff, but you have to make a decision about who you believe you are, who you're going to allow in, and understand ultimately that we are called human beings, not human doings. Mistakes are a part of life, but ultimately what matters is who you are.
Our next question comes from Shirley Michelle, and she says, how do you comp a very unusual, huge, and expensive house that has been expanded? The original house was 5 bedrooms, then had 2 separate sleeping areas. Each has 2 bedrooms and a bath for their parents added. How do you market it?
Shirley, I particularly like this question because it really helps that I sold real estate, right? I'm not one of these guys that talks about it and whatever. I actually sold, and so I've been in this situation many, many times. And before I answer this, I'm also going to tell you that the first part of your question, sometimes there is no real answer, okay? Now, I hate to preface with that, but it's true. Because when you start the question off by saying, how do I comp it, but there are no comps, you know, it's like saying, how do I bathe something without water, right? There are no comps. You can't go swimming and not get wet. You can't. And so the best thing I would do, and what I would do when I was selling real estate, that's when the price per square foot starts to come in, and you start to look at the area and adjust according to how big it is, price per square foot. But the truth is, you're still kind of guessing because there's no precedent. The whole point of comp is comparable property. If there's no comparable property, how can you do it? So I would go price per square foot. I'd come up with a price that would work for that area, even though it's going to be a little bit more than the others. Because it's so large, I'd probably discount a little bit off of the price per square foot, the average price per square foot in that area because of that, unless you're in a market that can actually handle that. You're in Malibu or something where you're going to set records and people have money to do that and they're going to overpay. But I'm particularly interested in the second part of your question, which is how do I market it? We have a part of our company which is it's called a listings package of our marketing, where we do nothing but promote on places like Facebook and otherwise listings. We leverage listings to create buyers and otherwise. And this is a perfect example of something where you could be taking a listing like that. You could be putting it out on Facebook prior to it being listed. You could be promoting it to first-time home buyers, buyers in general, sellers wanting to move up, these kinds of things. And you could be creating a post that actually says the details of the property, making it look amazing, making the pictures amazing, and saying things like, we haven't fully determined a price yet, come help us, you know, set up a private consultation or a private walkthrough now. People love that stuff, okay? You're going to get great feedback from people. Even if they don't buy the property, you're going to get a lot of potential buyers in front of you. And the idea that it hasn't fully been set yet is going to draw a big part of the market, and that's extremely attractive. So make sure you're using that prior to it going on the market, okay? Good? Yeah. You look like you like that one based on your face.
Yeah, sounds good.
Just so you guys know, if Rachel likes it, I can see it on her face, and if she doesn't, she just moves on. She's just like, whatever.
Next.
Yeah, next, whatever. We'll edit that out.
Yeah. Our next question is from Sarah Bosick, and she says, I'm handwriting notes to thank people for using our home valuation page. What 2 or 3 sentence call to action would you use to get them to contact me or to prep them for my follow-up call? Thanks.
Sarah, first off, let me start off by saying congrats to you for operating in a 21st century world and having a home valuation page, because I have to say that, right? So good for you. Handwritten notes, while I love them and I think they're fantastic and you should always do a certain amount per day, I worry about the scalability of that function as you're doing it going forward, because how many can you really do without burning yourself out and as your business grows? But I will tell you, as far as what kind of calls to action, again, I want to congratulate, I'm so glad that you're saying calls to action. We're adding a part to our marketing dashboard today about calls to action. So for you, I'll say this, I don't know what area you're from, but there's the standard calls to action, which are things like, we'll sell your house in 49 days or sell it for free. The 30-day listing contract, those kinds of standard ones that are really popular, where, by the way, the small writing in those are things like, hey, if you want the 49 days or we'll sell it for free, we're going to drop the price every 7 days. We're going to, stuff that people would never go for, but it's going to get you in the front door and have the option. They're going to go, no, I don't want that one. I'm going to go traditional. So you're going to use that. The thing that I find, those are more national type of calls to action. Depending on where you are, I think a great way to come up with calls to action is to figure out what's big in your area, what's a problem you could solve, what's kind of something that's frustrating or difficult for people when they sell that you can solve. So whether that's list with me and get free staging, whether that's if it was the winter time, we'll have your driveway plowed, whether it's the springtime, we'll have your lawn taken care of, whether it's, you need to find out what in your area is going to matter to people and ultimately solve that problem, create that call to action, but ultimately do some split testing, put out a couple of different calls to action and see what people are responding to. And once you figure out what that thing in your area is, just go all in on that thing, market the crap out of it, market the heck out of it, and get it all over the place. But I would make it more specific to your area based on the problem you're going to solve. That's the headache for people when they list.
The next question is from Sean Pallel, and he says, Jared, I'm not sure why, but I am addicted to your videos and training. What do you think separates you from so many other trainers out there, and what do you think makes you different?
Training.
Well, what's with that? I'm not sure why.
Because they're awesome.
Come on, Sean. Jeez.
It's not like a car wreck.
He said, I'm not sure why, but I'm addicted to your videos and training. You mean you're not sure why? All right.
And then he goes,
I got to get over that question now.
Well,
Jeez.
no, he follows up with, what do you think separates you from so many other trainers out there, and what do you think makes you so different?
Okay. All right. And what's his name?
Sean Pallel.
All right, Sean, I almost didn't answer this question because I didn't like the premise of you not being sure why you like the video training and that kind of stuff. I think I'm going to go a couple different ways with you on this one. I think that people like our video training and like our stuff because I'm very me. I mean, we've got Periscope going on over here now, guys, which, by the way, is now available on Android, too, not just iPhone. We've got Periscope now going live broadcast. These guys have been seeing me in between takes and, hearing the questions and doing that, and I think there's a certain relatability to that. I think I come from a different generation where we're much more transparent and ourselves, right? Like when I get in front of a video or I get on stage or I get whatever it may be, I'm really just accenting or just giving more of who I am. I'm not acting like something that I'm not. The other thing that I think really separates me is that I don't think, and hear me out on this, I don't think like a real estate coach or a real estate trainer or a motivational speaker or I don't think like that. What I think like a business person. Like I think like a 21st century, how do we scale? I run my business the way that I try to teach you guys to run yours. We were in here yesterday, right, doing a thing and talking about all these different ways that we're able to scale and what we have coming right now and the systems that we're setting up and how we're going to get in front of tens of thousands of people and add massive amounts of people to our database and what products we're going to create and how we're going to upsell those products along the way and how all along the way we're going to create more and more and more value so that addicting touch that you're talking about is only feeding the sales of those. So everybody's benefiting. We're making money. You're getting extreme value. So I think that's what separates me is number one, I'm very much who I am. I'm not acting like the guy that I'm supposed to be. And number two, I operate in the way that I talk. I don't think or operate like what I think a real estate coach or a motivational speaker should operate.
Dream big, right? So, what I want you to do is dream the biggest that you can. And then double it.
I think very much like a 21st century internet marketer, which is I think a huge difference. And I think one of the reasons why our company's grown at the rate that it has, and it hasn't taken me 30 years to be known in our industry or to grow, it's because I operate like that, and I really believe that.
The next question is from Regan or Reagan Shane Mitchell, and he says, how many books do you read per month, and how important do you think it is to do so?
Okay. All right, so Regan or however you say, Regan, possibly, from another country. You know, let's not discount that. Could be your name. It's a good question. I don't read a lot of books per month. I used to read a ton of books. I'm really into biographies. I find that most of them say the same things. I mean, it's over and over. But when I find a good book, I devour it. I read a lot of content every month, though. This is how the world has changed, right? I read a ton of articles. I watch a lot of video. That's how our world has changed, too, is that I don't have to open up a book like I used to. I watch a ton of video, content, that kind of stuff. But again, I'm reading more articles, some books. How important do I think that is? I think it's extremely important. You know, I got a new car yesterday, and I'm switching stuff over from my old car to my new car, and I've got a podcast on I'm listening to about different systems within a business. I think the important question is not necessarily the number of books you're reading, but I get the question. The important part is how much you're learning on a regular basis. And I am not only always learning, but I'm also always looking for how do we actually implement that? How do we actually act on that? And I think that is invaluable. That's super crucial to the growth of any business, because the moment you think that you know it all, that you know, whatever, to me is the moment that you start to, you know, I'm always eat up the meat, spit out the bones. I'm looking for something that I can pick up. And it's funny because sometimes the things I pick up are not even actually what the person meant, but it triggers something in my head that I start going, well, what about this? And if that happened, and I start going like this. It's funny, if you saw me sit in a seminar with a speaker or something like that, my notes are probably not even exactly what that person was talking about. They're just, you know, they're what I got from it, you know, and where I went with that, which is so powerful.
And the last question is from Fatima, and she is one of our one-on-one students. And she says, do you believe in scripts to get listings?
All right, Fatima. Hey, first off, welcome to our one-on-one coaching. I know you joined last week, so I love the fact that you're staying engaged and doing this as well. Do I believe scripts are important? If you would have asked the Jared James, I'm going to go third person on this. If you would have asked the Jared James of 5 years ago, or 10 years ago probably, I would have said, no, don't, whatever. And that was just because I'm such a spontaneous, off-the-cuff kind of a guy, I guess, right? I mean, those that are watching on Periscope right now, you know, a half hour ago I was shooting live training video, and I let them watch, and I said, okay, we're going to do a lot of different takes, and I didn't. I did one take for everything because it was just spontaneous. That's what I do. But I do believe scripts are very important in the sense that they train you where you're supposed to go, and they teach you the spirit of where you're supposed to go. I don't think anybody can truly follow them in the sense that if they say this, you say this, they say this, because nobody really follows that. People say different things that you don't expect. But as far as to really ingrain the spirit of where you're trying to go and how you get there, I believe that questions that you learn, which technically are scripted, are extremely important to get you to the place you want to go. You know, the person that controls the conversation ultimately makes the money. I wrote an article this week for Realtor Magazine that came out about 3 questions to convert seller leads, and I forget what they were now, but one was, at what price do you become a seller? One was, you know, your neighbor's property being listed may have changed the value of your property. What was the third question? I forget what the third question was right now. But they're important. They're important scripted questions that you are trying to get to in order to bring the person to where you want to go. And again, the person that controls the conversation ultimately makes the money. Okay, so scripts are important for you to learn, for you to internalize, but it's also important for you to know how to go off script when somebody doesn't answer the way that you want them to. I probably should have went right into the close right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very good.
So how are we going to do that then? How are we going to transition?
I'm trying to make a note right now of all the topics.
Yeah, because I've got to do, you're right, okay. So we'll just go right to the end then. All right, guys, that concludes episode 6 of hashtag JJ Off the Cuff. Like I say all the time, guys, ask your questions on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Use the hashtag JJ Off the Cuff, okay? Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, on Periscope if you have Android or the iPhone now. Just type in Jared James. We'll see you on there. But as always, guys, ask your questions. I can't wait to answer them. You ask them, I'll answer them.